I'm the C of C and Willows, and I wanted to tell you guys how we became the team and how we got to the journey of writing. Um, so I thought it'd be more interesting if I did a video instead of just a written paragraph. So I have all my notes. This is like extensive of how we got together because it's been a long time coming. So I'm gonna go through because there's three people part of the team, but I kind of like doing these interviews and sort of thing, that sort of thing. So that's why I'm kind of telling it. So I'm going to tell the other two people's stories as well, but it's going to be more extensive on kind of my journey, I guess, but a lot of theirs mirrors it. So there's three people that are part of this team. I'm Caroline D'Ambrosio. I have a twin sister, Marie D'Ambrosio, and then our friend William Fortin from college. So, our journey. Okay, so kind of a little bit about my childhood with my twin sister. We were always really into reading, we were avid readers. And then as we got older, we really got into romance. So we have been, I was going to say ingesting, that's not the right word, but we have been, consuming, I guess, romance into all types, so movies, books, you know, um, anime, cartoons, everything like that, we have been consuming for a very long time. And we love romance. Romance is our top kind of genre, and we love fantasy. We also love science fiction too. I really loved science fiction growing up, especially because you can take the themes of science fiction and really go far with them, and I just find it interesting. Now, kind of because of that, because I was so into science fiction, it's kind of the reason why I went into what I did. Super into science fiction. I tried to read all of the greats. Dune is one of my favorite books. So anyway, because of that, I think it influenced me. And also because, I wanted to make a living. I kind of was on this idea that you should do something practical, and what I really wanted to do was go into film. But I decided to study biomedical engineering at Michigan Tech. And my sister decided to study mechanical engineering because we were both very good at math and science, and I really love math. Actually, to this day, I love it, and I still tutor it. I find it really fun, and I just really loved, science fiction, that sort of thing. But I think it was more of the love of the stories, really, in retrospect, um, when I look back. But I always wanted to go into film, but I kind of was like, all right, I could, put that on the back burner. I need to make a living, that sort of thing. And also, since I was very young, I really I had this idea that I should become a doctor. Okay, I didn't do that, spoiler alert. But I had this idea of doing that. So I thought if I get a biomedical engineering degree, say I didn't go to med school, this was my thought process at the time. I can have this nice degree to kind of make a living, and it's interesting. And if you do go to med school, it's kind of more practical degree to get in order to apply to med school because a lot of people apply to med school like pre-med or biology, and a lot of times they can't do anything with it, that sort of thing. So I was kind of thinking that was my train of thought. So we go to Michigan Tech. Now, where is Michigan? Michigan Technological University. That's where we all met. And I, myself, Marie, and our friend William all met in the same hall. It was called First Year Experience, and it was like this special hall that you could kind of apply to that for the first years, and they did like extra special things for the first years because it's a really isolated school, which kind of makes it cool, but at the same time, it's really, really cold. It's way up in the upper peninsula of Michigan, very tippy top. So it's freezing cold. It's absolutely beautiful, but it does get very isolating. And there's not a lot of women there either. That's another thing because it's really mainly an engineering school. It started as a mining school. I'm going to go to the history of Michigan Tech. It started as a mining school. So a lot of people that go there are very practically minded and very, you know what I mean? So that's how we found a friend in William. Okay. If I say Bill, it's William because that's how I met him. But anyway, so I met him as Bill. But anyway, we met him, and we had a kinship with him because he also was very he loved stories. He was writing at the time as well. Like we weren't really writing. We were more into animation, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But we were more into drawing, animation, that sort of thing. But he was writing his stories, and we were very supportive of his stories that he was writing at the time. So he was honing his craft kind of even then. But he as well, like us, so this is why how we, we also had a kinship in this, that we felt, okay, we should do something practical to pay the bills. We don't come from money. And he went into computer science. So computer programming, that's what he was studying to do. So during that time, it was a really hard school to go to because the first 2 years were kind of fine because they're kind of the intro classes and I did okay with them. But then the rest of the time, it gets really hard. It's like very advanced classes, and I really just eked by, thankfully. And credit to William because he had to tutor me in Calc 3 that I even passed that class because he helped me. But now in retrospect, it was so many hard classes at the same time that I think if I went back and did it, I could probably understand what's going on because now I tutor, and I'm like, it wasn't as hard as I thought. But anyway, that's just how they set you up for these classes. But it was a very like isolating time, and my sister and I were like, we really realized like we need to go into something creative. Like we don't enjoy it, like, and I think that comes down to the science fiction thing. I thought I was in love with science, but really I was more in love with the storytelling. So we started to apply because we were like, okay, we want to get a master's in animation. We were very into animation. We love anime. We love cartoons. Um, we like to draw, both of us. So we applied to many different schools, and it was really hard to parlay it too because it's hard to parlay the engineering degree because it's like, why do you want to go from STEM into creative? Like, it's strange. Also, there was a part of me that just, I guess, really likes a challenge. I don't know, and I really did enjoy mathematics. But anyway, um, so we applied to many different schools, and we got into one school, but it was too expensive. So we were like, this is about when we graduated. So we were like, okay, it's too expensive. We didn't have money for it really. Even if you take out loans, it's really expensive. So we were like, okay, let's put on the back burner, even though we really wanted to do that. Let's put it on the back burner. And I started applying for engineering jobs. And this was during a time where it was like a really bad economy. I feel like the whole time I've been working, it's been a bad economy. But that's. And also, I want to say during this time when we were at Michigan Tech, um, we were really good friends with William, also because we really shared the same humor and we would watch movies together and we would just laugh at everything and we always had like a really good, great time. And we just had like this kinship with each other because we wanted to do something creative, and just we weren't really finding a lot of other people that wanted to do that. They would kind of laugh at it, or they would be like, why, like they were confused. um so that's why we weren't like super duper close friends. Like we're really really close friends now, but at the time we had that kinship, and that's why we stayed in contact all these years. So basically, we got into one school. It was too expensive, um, and it was bad economy. I was applying for jobs when I graduated, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to apply for some internships in film because that's what I really wanted to do anyway. And I really wanted to move to a bigger city, and I really wanted to move to New York, either LA or New York. But like, I really wanted to move to New York. There's a part of me that just really wanted to go there. I'm glad I did because I just stayed here because I love it. But so I applied for this internship and I got it at a um, production company that does documentaries. And I ended up having my sister come in and join that company as well. It's called Rumor. They still make documentaries and things, and they were such a great company to work for. We did so many cool projects, so many cool documentaries. Their documentaries are just top tier. Um, and it was just a great experience working with them. But it was like a bad economy at the time, and they had to kind of, one was moving away. There was like partnerships, so they had to kind of restructure everything. And I ended up not having a job anymore. So I was thinking, oh, what should I do? I really didn't want to go into engineering because, kind of like with engineering, the jobs, it's like you have to you're not really going to talk to anybody either, you know. An opportunity came up where I saw like second degree options for nursing. So I was like, so my sister and I too. She came. She was working in film. She was doing animation, um, because she's much more practiced in animation and stuff like that. So we were like working for that company, but it kind of fell through. And then we were like, let's go back to Michigan too. And then I went to the University of Detroit Mercy and got my um, nursing degree, second degree in nursing, which was extremely difficult. It was like a really humbling time because I had to move back home. I had to. It was second degree nursing, so everything is really condensed. So already nursing school is really hard. So this was like everything was in about a year and a half. And I had to retake some stuff too, which was annoying because like sometimes when you're science, it had been so many years since I took my organic biology or whatever. But I was like, this is great. Like I'll get a nursing degree and then I don't have to worry about, not having a job because I'll be able to work these 3 shifts and, 3 shifts a week and it'll be great. And, I kind of had this like rose colored glasses of like what nursing is. I mean, spoiler alert, it's not that. I'll get to that. So, and my sister was doing the same thing. So, um, and that was a really great school. I had a good experience and everything, but it was like a really hard time, whatever. And then I wanted to move back to New York because I really like New York and I didn't want to stay in Michigan. Um, I just didn't, I like it that you don't need a car. So I always wanted to come back to New York. So I came back to New York, started working as a nurse here, and my sister started working as a nurse too. And William, this whole time, was um, working in computer programming. So he was just making money, honing his craft. We were like staying in contact, but we weren't like working anything together. We weren't working any exact projects per se. And this is also the time that I really got into um, historical costuming because I really love historical dramas. And I really when I was applying to get jobs in nursing, I started making these costumes. And actually, that's what this channel used to be. It was just all my historical costuming kind of adventures and that sort of thing. And I made so many cool things. And then I got into knitting, and so I have like all of this knowledge of these historical things, and it comes into play in the book because I have what they wear and like it's very thought out, their costumes, because I think all that like really matters. So, but that wasn't interesting because I really got into that and I thought that's what I want to do. Like I kind of put the storytelling on the back burner because I had wanted to go into animation. My sister had really wanted to study animation. I had kind of been like, you know what? Actually, my calling is costumes and actually it was fashion. Like I was really in fashion. I went to the camp exhibit at the Met and that really inspired me because everything I had made was kind of costumey, but then I realized with that camp exhibit that I don't need to have it make it costumey. Anyway, that's a whole thing. I love fashion. I love historical fashion. Um, and so then I applied to um, get a master's in fashion design. And I didn't get into the school that I wanted to, so that was kind of a really big letdown. Um, but fast forward to, I kind of was like, wow, my calling is fashion. And at this time, I was working as a nurse, and I was working at nights in a NICU, and I loved working in the NICU. Um, but it was a lot harder than I anticipated, just because the stress. You kind of go into it like in nursing school. They're kind of like, and any healthcare people will understand this. You go into it and you think, oh, I'm just gonna do my 3 shifts and it's gonna be over and whatever. But when you're working those 3 shifts, especially in like an ICU setting, you are really responsible for this person's life, and it is a lot of responsibility. Just knowing for those 12 hours that it's all on you. Yes, you have a team of people around you, but it's just this baseline level of stress. And it was hard. Yeah, I had to deal with deaths. I had to deal with things like I never really had to deal with before with that job, which helped me and it helped me with writing later. So all of these things have helped me with becoming a really good storyteller. So, um, but yeah, just stuff I never really dealt with before, like a lot more death, a lot more being in the NICU, then you see a lot of people, they go through the whole life, they've never seen a birth or a death. Sometimes, well, maybe their own death they'll be a witness to, but so I'm kind of lucky in that way, but it just gave me a lot more perspective of things, right? And then the pandemic happened. And actually, I just got a new job when the pandemic happened. And I was doing my fashion thing, and I was doing okay with it. And then the pandemic happened, and it was just, whatever was hard about nursing before became like way harder, way more crazy. Um, and it just got almost unbearable. I mean, it was so hard. I'm not gonna go so in depth about the COVID thing, but it was just an extremely hard time, and it made me question like my whole thing of nursing, because before that I could go home and I could work on my projects. I could even work on things, when I had some free time. I could work on things at the hospital, sketches or whatever. But I was so burnt out from the COVID thing, because a lot of people left nursing, so then they put this huge patient load, um, and you know I have some videos at that time, but whatever. So it was just really, really difficult, and I couldn't work on my creative things anymore. Like I was so burnt out and so fried, and it was kind of like, wow, I spent all this time getting this degree so then I could work on my creative things, and now I don't even have the capacity to even do that. And Marie was working too as a nurse, um, as a psych nurse. So then she went into psych nursing. She was always interested in that. So then that was really hard for her as well. Um, just seeing all that, dealing with all that. Um, and then William was, again, just honing his craft as a writer, and working as a computer programmer during this whole time, really. Um, and it was like I left my one nursing job to do travel nursing, because everyone was doing travel nursing, and I was like, I can make money. Um, I don't have to stay where it's cold. I was really burnt out being in New York too, because there was all these rules in New York, and also it was really cold. Everyone was really scared and whatever. So I was like, let me go somewhere warm for a little bit. But that was isolating too, because I didn't know anyone there. I had like a community in New York, and then I went there and I didn't really have that. So that was a whole thing. And then I was doing kind of fiber arts. I had kind of shifted from costume to fiber arts. Um, and I got into knitting. So I was doing all that. And it's interesting because like I have all of the knitting and stuff is going to go into the stories too. But anyway. And then Marie decided to make some money as a travel nurse, and she had this whole time been wanting to go to animation school, and she had been working on her craft to become an animator, and she applied to SCAD and got into their master's program, a master's in fine art of animation. So she had saved up money, not the whole thing, but a significant amount from travel nursing, so she was able to pay for a significant amount of the thing, but she still had to take out loans, which is crazy, but that's a whole other story. But anyway, she went to Georgia, Savannah, and started doing her master's in animation. And it was around that time when I had applied to a fashion master's program, and I didn't get in, and I don't know, I guess that just made me really depressed or something. And I got into the knitting and stuff, and I just it wasn't sparking in me the love of fashion. I find it interesting because like during the time when I was really into it, it was like my reason for waking up in the morning. I swear, like I would wake up and be like, I need to finish this, Regency coat, whatever, um, whatever it was, and I have so much skills from that time. It's crazy. Like I can pretty much make anything. I'm not really that into pants, but anyway. So she's doing her masters, and I just got this feeling in me like I want to go back to storytelling. So we started just working on stories, and we were working on just random stories. We were just fooling around, like we would meet every week, and we would just come up with scenes or whatever. And I got into screen plays. Like I always loved film, and I always wanted to go into film. So I got into writing screenplays. So I got really into writing screenplays. And we were working on like a fashion, and we have this on our website because we turned it into a comic later on. I'm gonna get into like why I turned it into a comic called Mod Girls, which is about three sisters trying to live in fashion. Meanwhile, William was writing some stories. I was also helping him out, being like kind of like a developmental editor. So I would read his stuff. I would give him notes. I would tell him this works, that works, whatever. And we were just a really good team on that. I thought he helped outline like Marie and I want to work on this sci-fi sort of mystery thing, which you can look at thedeambrositwins.com. We turned it into a comic. But I don't think it's in the zeitgeist, so we're taking a break from that. But anyway, so he helped outline that entire story, like how it ends and everything with me. And then I was just working a lot with him. And then he was writing this kind of Victorian house thing, and it was really funny. And I was like working with him, and I'm like, wow, like we have a lot similar sentiments and stuff like that, and I feel like we would make a really good team. So I was like, we should work on a romantasy because I was really into romantasy at the time. I always am into romance. I love romance, so I always want romance infused in everything. And he was like, I don't know, So like, okay, so we continued kind of just collaborating. I would give feedback on stuff, and then Marie finished her master's, but it was like a really bad economy that, and like the whole animation business sort of imploded. And like the whole AI thing, like, you know what I mean? So that all imploded, and so she couldn't get a job in animation. So we were just working on stuff. She was doing some nursing contracts to kind of make money. Um, and she was coming visiting me in New York. I was helping William with more just developmental edits, just edits on things, He was still honing his craft. And then it was like maybe a year and a half later, and then Marie and I had decided to, because we couldn't get, because normally you're able to pitch like shows and stuff. So I was writing the screenplays for the shows, and then she was doing all the animation work, and we were doing like these pitch kind of things, right? But there's really nowhere to pitch it anymore, and kind of like now what you have to do is you kind of have to show that your thing is already worth something. Like they did it with Hazbin Hotel. I don't know how they quite did it, but basically you have to show, they don't want to greenlight your thing unless you have pre-existing success, right? And we didn't have it, so obviously. So they're not going to just go on pitches anymore. That's not how it works anymore. So basically we're like, well, why don't we make a comic book? And we're not really big comic book people. Marie's more of an animation, but we're like, why don't we do comic books? And so we were entering this world of comic books, which we knew nothing about. And now that we've been in it, we're like, oh, it's so much harder than we thought it was. First off, and it's really hard to like get an audience for a comic book. Interesting enough, but we were like, we'll do a web comic, but it's so hard to keep up with the web comic because it takes really long to draw it and all that stuff. But we were working on it's called MZ Manapil, on the record, and it's about this teen journalist, and she's at the sci-fi school, and it's just this cute, funny thing. But we were working on that, kind of like a Nancy Drew, and you can actually check it out. What we have and thedeambrositwins.com. Anyway, so and we were working on the Mod Girls too. We had turned that into a comic, and kind of we were like, I was getting a little burnt out from that because it was like we were putting so much effort into it, and it just wasn't really going because it's hard to get people to buy into a comic. It is because, and now I know like the psychology of it, because it takes so long to make the comic that, it's only like 10 pages, but it took us like a month, you know what I mean? And you're getting such a little snippet of the story, you know what I mean? So really what we should do is what I've started thinking. We need to just write a novel. And now there's like kind of this, zeitgeisty thing where people are reading more and they want to read more and they like reading books, and they're really into fantasy, which I like, and they like romance is kind of starting to, because there was a time there where they didn't have romance in anything, and it was like this weird thing where it's like we can't have any romance. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but now it's getting like people want romance again, and they want the sincerity of romance, and they want, because it kind of was like this dissecting of romance that became popular. I can do another video on my analysis of that. But anyway, I brought it back up to William, like maybe we should all write, because we were still, editing each other's things, and we were working on separate projects, but we weren't working anything together. And I was like, and some of these things I was reading, I was like, this is really funny, and like, there's not that many things on the market right now that are funny, that are genuinely funny. So that's really, really hard to do, and he has the skill to do it. And I'm like, we should work on. I brought it up again, like we should work on a romantasy, and I was like, oh, he's gonna say no, because it's a romance, and he was like, yeah, like he wanted to work on it then, so maybe he just needed the time. So I was like, yay! So we, and I was excited about that. I wasn't as excited about doing the sci-fi. I just don't know if it's in the zeitgeist right now. So we all took a back burner to our other projects, and we started working on the romantasy. And I kind of had this idea. I saw a clip of, and I can go into the inspiration for this particular thing. I saw a clip of One Piece, and it's Zoro, and he's with that kind of dorky girl, like his childhood, whatever. Anyway, there was a clip of that, and I was like, that's so cute, like to have like a dorky girl and then like this kind of swashbuckling guy. I'm like, that's cute. Like I want something like that. So I was like, let's make a dorky kind of girl with like a hot kind of swordsman. And I was like, I want like revenge. I almost like revealed something about the book. Anyway, I want a revenge thing. So that's how we started. And then we just started talking. This was in March of last year. We started talking, we started brainstorming, we came up with all these, and it just started flowing. And since then, we've just been working like crazy. And it's cool because all of the life experiences are coming together to help with the book. So because like we have a healer character, and we kind of put a lot of our healing, experience into her. We have, our main character, Toridetta, is like an engineer of sorts. So we put all of our experience, like, with engineering kind of in it. And which is cool because we actually know how things kind of work. So we can kind of, it's not like totally, it's not mechanical because there's magic. It's a magic world. So we can kind of gloss over some things, but, we kind of putting all of our life experiences, and their outfits are very important. Like I made sure that the costumes are really great. So yeah, we're just and that's how we came together, and that's how we got our team together. So now we have this team, and we're planning on doing this is going to be a trilogy, and then we have many more ideas for other things. And I mean, I think we will work with each other forever. I mean, I love this team. It's really rare to find a team that we have like no egos when we are working together, that we can work on all these scenes together. And we don't really, if I say I don't like it, we don't take it personally either. We're very good like that, which I think is very rare to have a team like that. So and we just have so much fun. We have so much fun writing together. We have so much fun. It's like our play, something that I did, I don't know if you guys know Patch Adams. I went on this trip with Patch Adams. Look it up. Where you went clowning, and you go to hospitals and you clown for people. And I kind of realized through that trip that, when you're adults, you don't play anymore. You don't, and that's why musical theater and like theater is so good for people. But this is like our play. And so we need it, and we need to do that with our adult friends. So I think it's really important. So if anything, it's been a lot of fun writing it. And I think it's like a really great book. So I'm really excited for you guys to read it. And I'm going to have the next video. I'm just going to talk about just the inspiration for the book, I guess. Let me see. Is there anything that I left out? I don't think so. So I hope this video isn't too long. And subscribe for updates If you want to know when the book comes out, we're going to launch in June. So, and we're doing lots of freebies. So stay tuned.